This novel was really a product of me mourning my own death there on that hospital bed. Ooh, check it out, guys. The second edition of Frozen Wrath is out there in the wild. Got this 1970s movie poster aesthetic. I'm loving it. It's sleek, it's beautiful. But in honor of this second edition, I asked on my Instagram if we were to discuss Frozen Wrath, what do you guys want to hear about? The philosophies of Frozen Wrath and kind of the messages I was wrestling with on the page? Or do you want to hear a character analysis of Dante? Should we dive into his psychological profile? You guys chose philosophy of Frozen Wrath, so that's what we're going to do here, and I'm pumped. I wrote this right after my first and my most serious encounter with death. And so on the pages of this, man, I was struggling with these heavy themes, these heavy existential problems that were weighing me down. And there's three key concepts that I think emerged that I want to discuss here. Diving right into it with the first one, Frozen Wrath is an existential novel about choices and identity. At its core, that's what it is. You look at the very first line on the very first page of Frozen Wrath. It's the villain saying to Dante, "This is when you decide who you are." I have a psychology background. I love narrative therapy. This is where this kind of comes into play. This is the liar, right? That devil voice in your ear that tells you you are defined by your mistakes. You are defined by your scars. In this moment, in this scene, we see Dante make the biggest mistake of his life. He does do something truly horrendous. His brother, the liar, the villain, says, this is the defining moment of your life. You're never going to have the power to lift yourself out of this. This is who you are. And so when you meet Dante at the beginning of this novel and he's weary and he's grumpy and he's just ready to die, face God's judgment and be cast out, you're seeing the result. You're seeing the rot of living from this false identity, living from this lie that you are who you are and there's nothing you can do. I talked about this concept a lot on Save for More videos in the very beginning, around the same time I was writing Frozen Wrath. This idea that you are not your mistakes. You're not who you were yesterday. Every day that you wake up with a heartbeat, you have another chance to make another choice, to move your legacy in another direction. That's what Dante represents here. Then we jump into the plot. What is it? Maxwell is missing. Maxwell is a kid who is missing that Dante must go searching for. So to me, what I like to see in my own head is that Maxwell represents this idea of hope, of a future, of optimism, of I can change my identity. That's the first idea. Second concept is resilience and grit. Now, going back to where I was when I was writing this, getting out of the hospital, I had a long road to recovery ahead of me. I had lost a lot of weight, a lot of muscle, and my activity level was 0, and I had to ramp back up. So I couldn't really walk without my leg swelling and throbbing. I couldn't take a few steps without getting out of breath. I had to build up from there to where I was. And that was like mentally a draining experience. And you see it reflected in Frozen Wrath, even in ways that I hadn't been aware of at first until trying to think about this stuff for the video. And it's funny, this is why I tell people to write, even if you're not a writer. Your subconscious works things out. This is why narrative therapy is a thing. It is true that we have these things called projective measures where your subconscious is going to spill things out, even if you're not thinking about it. Long story short, I tried to have Dante be this shining example of what grit and resilience can look like. I wanted him to be this poster boy, this hero of grit, where we see him as 62 years old or something like that, with a broken leg, trekking through the Montana wilderness during winter, always going uphill, always fighting forward, no matter what. And yeah, that's what just dawned on me, is that he also had a leg issue, and that was me kind of subconsciously working out the clot in my leg, because that was the most painful part. When I would walk, I'd have to limp because there was pain in the leg. It's kind of funny. But I was pulling from my real life experience of feeling the Reaper get closer and closer every time I tried to, exercise and push forward. I felt like that fear of death coming over me. The constant reminder of death was like stuck to me. It was stuck on me. After this event, man, I knew death is coming for me. I don't know when. It could be in a few minutes. It could be in a few hours. And this isn't just me because of my own health stuff, it's for anybody. Death is right around the corner for us. It's right over our shoulder. But we have to pick ourselves up and move forward no matter what life hits you with, no matter how hard life hits you. It's up to you to rise up and to move forward. And the last concept is more of an overarching one that reaches across the novels. Stated here on the back quote, "What good can come from evil?" Yes, you can take that in the Dante way as well, but there's a bigger theme, a bigger message I was trying to touch on here. And it's the idea of what we have to do to face down evil in our world, the fighting fire with fire concept. Some of what Dante has to do in this novel is pretty evil, right? We can consider it evil. The death and destruction that he has to enact is quote unquote evil. But he's facing down bigger monsters. He's kind of going into hell, crossing that threshold to face down demons. So Frozen Wrath really touches on the idea that dangerous men are necessary. And sometimes, quote unquote, evil acts are necessary. Violence is sometimes necessary. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but the second novel asks the question, then who can cross the threshold? What kind of man does it take to enter into hell to face down those demons? But that's it. I don't have to ramble too much longer. I want to thank every single one of you who's ever picked up a copy of this. It's so cool. It's such a dream come true. You really made a dream come true for me. So that is on you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Merry Christmas. God bless. Love you guys.